This Week with George Stephanopoulos starts right now.
Biden defeats Trump.
The people of this nation have spoken.
The president-elect reaches out.
I work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as those who did. Let this grim era of demonization in America begin to end here and now.
His first promise.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
Kamala Harris makes history.
The generations of women, black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women, who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight.
Shattering the glass ceiling.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities.
The campaign ends with celebrations and protests across America. As President Trump confronts defeat, the president-elect prepares to lead, grappling with a raging pandemic, a faltering economy, a nation divided by race, region, and politics.
From ABC News, this is a special edition of This Week, Your Voice, Your Vote 2020. Here now, Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning and welcome to This Week, the week America chose to end the Trump presidency. After 4 years of division and tumult, assaults on truth and treasured institutions, voters turned out in record numbers to turn the page, replacing a reality TV star raised in wealth with a career politician from the working class. In his first speech as president-elect, a forceful Joe Biden delivered a soothing message. It's time to heal.
For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies, they are Americans.
As we come on the air this morning, President Trump is raging against the results with false statements on Twitter, his team vowing to overturn them with legal challenges that have little prospect of success. The votes are still being counted across the country, and Joe Biden's lead in the popular vote is over 4 million and climbing. He's ahead in enough states to eventually match the 306 electoral votes won by Trump in 2016. This morning, we look back at the lessons of this election, look ahead to the challenges now facing Joe Biden and the country he will lead. We begin with our chief White House correspondent, John Carl, Rachel Scott in Wilmington with President-elect Biden. And Rachel, let me begin with you. The Biden transition plans to hit the ground running tomorrow.
George, it is going to be a busy stretch, just 73 days until the inauguration. And we know that before this race was even called, that Biden's transition team was already working quietly behind the scenes. They've assembled these review teams to start working with the federal agencies so that he can hit the ground running. And we also know that here in Wilmington, they're having those discussions about who is going to be in those critical positions inside of the West Wing and the administration. This is a seismic shift in American politics, and the makeup of this next administration will look dramatically different from the current one. Biden has already pledged to have the most diverse cabinet in American history, and he has already said what his priorities are, coming out on stage yesterday saying he's going to start with that coronavirus task force, assembling the team of scientists and experts that he believes will help slow the spread of the virus, George.
And Rachel, he's also preparing a list of executive actions, executive orders that he plans to enact on day one.
Yeah, George, and a lot of this has to do with the Senate. We do not know what the control of the Senate is going to be, if Republicans are going to hang on, so that we know that his team is already having these conversations about what he can do on his own through executive actions. But Biden has already made clear what he would like to do on day one. He would like to rejoin the World Health Organization. He would like to repeal the Muslim ban. He would like to reinstate DACA, George, again, just dramatically different from the current administration.
Good morning. I'm Jane Pauley, and this is Sunday Morning. Election week is over, and the projected winner is Joe Biden. Not that his victory at the polls was easy or free of controversy or dispute. It was a nail-biting conclusion to a campaign for the history books, as Martha Teichner will report.
I'm Margaret Brennan in Washington. Today on Face the Nation, an excruciating election week is over as America shatters voting records and elects its 46th president. But the 45th, so far, refuses to concede.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory.
For the 74.5 million Americans who voted for the Biden-Harris ticket, Saturday was a rare day of jubilation in a year filled with fear and uncertainty. For the presumptive president-elect, the challenges ahead are enormous.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
That's because the other 70 million Americans who voted in campaign 2020 did not vote for the Democrats.
We won't stop! We won't stop!
Some are diehard supporters of President Trump, who are challenging the projections and vote counts.
Don't be ridiculous. Networks don't get to decide elections. Courts do.
Actually, the voters do. But so far, there is no evidence of fraud, and Democratic leads in a recount could be insurmountable.
I'm proud of the coalition we put together, the broadest and most diverse coalition in history.
In this election, more than a third of voters were non-white. More women voted than men, and the new administration reflects that diversity. Senator Kamala Harris will be the first woman, the first black, and the first Asian American to serve as vice president.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
We'll hear from the Biden campaign co-chairman, Louisiana Congressman Cedric Richmond. Plus, we'll talk with Pennsylvania Republican Senator Pat Toomey and West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin about governing in a Biden-Harris administration with what looks to be a divided Congress. We'll take a look at the potential legal challenges from the Trump campaign in key states and get an update on the dangerous new phase of coronavirus with former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb. Plus, the legendary Bob Schieffer weighs in on the burden on a Biden administration to unite America moving forward. It's all just ahead on Face the Nation. Good morning. Welcome to Face the Nation and to a new week. Last week, American democracy was tested as we waited more than 3.5 days for votes to be counted and a presidential projection to be made. Saturday morning, former Vice President Joe Biden was projected the winner, defeating an incumbent for only the fourth time in the past 100 years. And although America has decided, President Trump has not conceded that he's been defeated. As of this morning, President-elect Biden has 279 electoral votes, 9 more than the 270 needed to win. 4 states have not been determined yet. Georgia and North Carolina are toss-ups. Arizona is leaning Democrat, and President Trump is likely to win in Alaska.
Former Vice President Joe Biden has been elected president.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
While I may be the first woman, I will not be the last.
Good morning and welcome to Sunday Today on this November 8th. I'm Willie Geist. It took 4 extra days of counting at the end of a long campaign, but on Saturday, 77-year-old Joe Biden became the president-elect of the United States.
This Sunday, it's Joe Biden. Celebrations break out around the country as Joe Biden takes Pennsylvania and the presidency.
We came here to celebrate democracy. We are proud Americans.
I am so excited. I was so nervous the past couple of days.
I can breathe for the first time in 4.5 years.
Last night in Delaware.
Let this grim era of demonization in America begin to end here and now.
I may be the first woman in this office. I will not be the last.
President Trump insists the election is not over, making baseless claims of fraud.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
The president's allegations of large-scale fraud and theft of the election are just not substantiated.
The president's allies launching lawsuits to overturn the results. My guest this morning, Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, Democratic Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina, and Biden Deputy Campaign Manager Kate Bedingfield. Plus, race for the Senate.
This is not the night that Democrats dreamed of.
Disappointed Democrats fail to seize the Senate yet and lose seats in the House.
We had a very good day. Most pundits thought we were going to lose the Senate.
2 Georgia runoffs in January will decide control of the Senate. Joining me for insight and analysis are NBC News senior Washington correspondent Andrea Mitchell, Democratic pollster Cornell Belcher, Wall Street Journal columnist Peggy Noonan, and David Wasserman, House editor for the Cook Political Report. Welcome to Sunday and a special election edition of Meet the Press.
From NBC News in Washington, the longest-running show in television history, this is a special edition of Meet the Press with Chuck Todd.
And a good Sunday morning. One side of a deeply divided country is celebrating this weekend. A nationwide block party broke out from coast to coast yesterday in spontaneous celebrations, mostly in cities, moments after television networks called the election for Joe Biden.
We love Joe Biden. It's the election of our lifetime. It impacts our future so much, and it just means so much that it's happening. We did it. We did it.
Ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. Like, that's it. Like, it's electricity going through my body at this very moment.
Last night in Delaware, the new president-elect and Kamala Harris addressed supporters and the nation.
Now, let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again.
Perhaps by now you know the story. Biden won by rebuilding, barely, the Democrats' northern industrial blue wall, taking Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, all of them narrowly. After all, Wisconsin's technically going to be a recount. And more importantly, adding, it looks like, perhaps, 2 Sunbelt states, Georgia and Arizona. Of course, those races are not called, but Biden leads in both. Biden is heading for a solid, if unspectacular, popular vote victory, somewhere in between Barack Obama's 2008 and 2012 wins. But the raw vote is quite impressive. The big lesson of this election, 2016 was not a fluke. It was a signal. While voters rejected President Trump, the individual, he still won far more votes than last time, and it was hardly the wholesale rejection of Trumpism that Democrats had anticipated. Still, the president, who has yet to concede, is refusing even to admit that he lost. He's claiming that illegal votes put Joe Biden over the top, which is false. He's claiming that Joe Biden is rushing to falsely pose as the winner. That is not true. And that he actually won the election and did so by a lot. Well, that's wrong. And as you can see by these numbers, by a lot.
I'm Chris Wallace. Joe Biden is elected the 46th president of the United States. Now, can he heal a divided nation?
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify.
The president-elect declares victory and starts laying out his agenda.
Our work begins with getting COVID under control.
We'll discuss his plans for the presidency with Mayor Pete Buttigieg, a member of the Biden transition team. Meanwhile, President Trump rejects the result and vows to mount legal challenges across the country, claiming the election is far from over.
This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner.
We'll talk with Republican Senator Mitt Romney, who says the president is inflaming dangerous passions. Plus, congressional Democrats have a disappointing night, failing to mount a blue wave in the Senate and now holding a thin majority in the House.
We did not win every battle in the House, but we did win the war.
We'll ask our Sunday panel about the new balance of power in Washington. And our Power Player of the Week, a fascinating look at the U.S. Army through the eyes of its heroes. All right now on Fox News Sunday. And hello again from Fox News in Washington. Here are the headlines this busy Sunday. Joe Biden is now projected to win at least 290 electoral votes, more than enough to become the nation's 46th president. In a tight race against Donald Trump, who is challenging the results in a broad legal offensive, claiming fraud and voting irregularities. The president yet to concede, but the Biden transition team already hard at work. In a moment, we'll speak with former Mayor Pete Buttigieg, a member of the Biden transition. But we begin this hour with Fox team coverage. David Spunt is at the White House. But let's start with Jackie Heinrich, who's covering the president-elect in Wilmington, Delaware. Jackie.